See, the Soviet pair Usova and Zulin have made the headlines today, not for their skating either. The reason a rather skimpy little number worn by Mayor Usova in the compulsories yesterday caused quite a stir. John Helm takes up the story.
The International Skating Union decided to get tough after world champion Katarina Witt's stunning appearance at the Calgary Winter Olympics in an outfit described by a fellow competitor as merely a G-string. New rules were implemented dictating that costumes should be modest and dignified. Last night the controversy was revived when the Soviet pair Usova and Zulin performed. Maya Usova's daring flesh-coloured body stocking and green bikini was criticised as inappropriate by British judge Joan Slater. But isn't she being rather narrow-minded?
No, not at all, because this year we have had guidelines from our International Skating Union to say that we incur a penalty of 0.1 or 0.2 if we do not comply with these regulations.
But it's a glamorous sport. Does this not add to the glamour?
I'm sure it does, and I think it's, if they were to say, yes, let's do what we want, that's fine. And there's no way I'm disputing the girls skating. I think I'm a great admirer of the Russians dancing.
Bobby, what was your opinion of it?
I must admit, overall picture for me was absolutely delightful. The costume didn't offend me in the least, and I think one has to sort of draw comparisons to the Summer Olympics, really. If Flojo can appear as she did, I really think the comparison should be made there. Whilst we do have rules and regulations, I think probably the judges did deduct because it was a very high-quality dance that they gave performance, and I think they would have deducted 0.1 or 0.2. So really, I would have been furious as their coach to allow them maybe to put themselves in the position to be deducted, because they could have possibly got 5 nines, because it was a superb dance.
Well, I've been joined by Betty Calloway here. Betty, should Usova have a slapped wrist then?
Oh, remember we had perestroika. But apart from the rules and regulations, it really wasn't quite suitable for the occasion. It was a compulsory dance, it was the rumba, and the costume was really more of an oriental. I mean, on another occasion, it would have been very beautiful and very suitable.
She was obviously used to the Siberian climate, wearing a bikini in these temperatures.
The most exciting is the 15-year-old Surya Bonaly. Originally from Reunion near Madagascar, she now lives in Paris. She's never been to school, she's tutored by her parents, and her staple diet is seeds. But she's the bronze medalist in the World Junior Championships and could well make a big impression at these European Championships.
Meanwhile, Surya Bonaly's choice of attire, especially the dazzling tights, caused another furore. The rules demand smart and dignified appearance. Some felt this was outrageous. Meanwhile, the new French prodigy finished 17th, making the wrong sort of impact with her appearance.
It was more of a court jester's outfit. I think that something more smart and dignified would have been more appropriate.
A trainer, you see, says that they want to be different.
Well, I think you can be different without perhaps being quite so outrageous.
No one would argue that he should have won, but what people were slightly concerned about was the marking, because while he got 4 6s, the British judge, Vanessa Riley, who's with me now, only gave him 5.6, and I think a lot of people wonder why. So let me ask you, Vanessa, why?
The ISU have a ruling that costumes have to be decent and modest, or dignified and modest. This costume did not match up to it, and there's a compulsory 0.2 deduction for any costume that doesn't, meet this requirement. So I deducted 0.2 from the artistic impression mark.
Well, I think we ought to have a quick look at the costume. What is wrong with that, Vanessa?
Well, at ice level, the costume became completely transparent from the waist down, and this was not dignified or modest.
Shouldn't you really concentrate on performance?
Well, I was concentrating on performance. I still had him first, but with a 0.2 deduction, it doesn't make any difference. I still had him place first. It didn't alter his placing in any way at all, but this costume was not as it should have been.
I mean, since the performance last night, have you heard anyone else point out the costume to you, or do you think you're on your own?
I think most people thought the costume didn't meet the requirements.
You thought it was a bit saucy, did you?
not for me to say it's saucy. It wasn't modest and it wasn't dignified.
Would you do the same again, bearing in mind that when those results went up, there were 4 6s and you saw how way out of step you were?
I wasn't out of step. I still had him placed first, but I was just going by the ruling of costumes, and there is a compulsory 0.2 deduction for costumes.
All right,
so
what
I
did
just
you feel then
enforced
when
it.
you saw all those 6s up there and there was your humble little 5.6?
Well, a little bit of a heart flutter.
Did you?
A little.
So when we go to Paris, if he is wearing the same outfit, what will you do?
I would have to deduct again the 0.2 if the costume is as it is now. Yes.
Is it fair to say that your marks are often out of step with the others?
I am often out, but I'm not that much out. It often looks worse. I have a very big range of marks, and I make a big difference between very good and very bad, so you don't always have to give somebody 6 to have them first. The public often think if a judge is marking low that they're not much good. The marks aren't any good, but it isn't that at all. It's the placing at the end of the day is what counts. And
I think it was the Times this morning that said you were never one to follow the herd. What do you think of that?
I should take it as a compliment, perhaps, should I?
Any idea whether the other judges might actually follow you next time around?
Well, we'll have to wait
if he
till...
were wearing the same outfit.
I think we have to wait for the Worlds.
Well, do you discuss it?
Well, there's a judges' meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning where the referee holds a meeting as to what's happened with the championships, and we have to wait and see what happens at the judges' meeting at 9 o'clock.
Will you be raising the subject of Alexander Fadeev's transparent lower half?
I expect the referee would be raising it. I wouldn't know, but with a 0.4 difference in the marks from last night, I would think it's highly likely that it will be raised, yes.
Well, Vanessa Riley, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, well, we're now moving over.